And
Oh boy, I tell you, technology is something else, right?
Right.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today, and welcome to our opening series on B2B marketing that's connected to our navigating and adjusting to the new normal program. I want to thank Creative Mischief for their expertise and support in this program. And I want to welcome all of you here today and just say thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. And again, thank you for joining us for our B2B marketing series with Creative Mischief. My name is Jennifer Pasley, and I am on the Georgia MBDA Business Center team here at Georgia Tech, the Enterprise Innovation Institute. On behalf of the Minority Business Development Agency, or MBDA, our center, the Georgia Minority Business Development Agency Business Center, and Georgia Tech, we welcome you. At the Georgia MBDA Business Center, we help MBEs develop, grow, and scale. We provide assistance through our 4 pillars: access to capital, opportunities, infrastructure and capacity building, and connecting MBEs to strategic resources. We are a part of a national MBDA network of 35+ centers and special projects focused specifically on growing and strengthening the minority business community. MBDA is the only federal agency solely dedicated to the growth and global competitiveness of U.S. minority-owned businesses. The MBDA federal agency is currently celebrating its 50-year anniversary. We are a part of an ecosystem supporting MBEs, our small businesses, from startups to mature companies. You'll find on the screen a snapshot of some of our key partners, including federal agencies, cities, universities, corporations, and organizations dedicated to diversity, industry organizations, etc. In the previous slide, we covered some of the national ecosystems. However, we also partner with local community organizations and ecosystems on the university, city, state, and regional levels. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge our multi-talented team led by Donna Ennis, our center director. We'd like to give a special thanks to our sponsors, Comcast, EBCO, and Train Technologies. Today's series is a part of the Navigating and Adjusting to the New Normal. This program is funded by the U.S. Department of Commerce Minority Business Development Agency under the Coronavirus Response and Relief Award. The primary focus is to help MBEs navigate through the pandemic. We'd like to thank our NANN partners, Albany Community Together, Georgia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Georgia Minority Enterprise Network, Greater South Fulton Chamber of Commerce, and US PAC. Today, we'd like to introduce Karen Murphy and Isham Colasetti who will present the B2B marketing essentials. And with that, we'll turn it over to Karen and Isham. Thank you.
okay, great. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Very happy to be here today with you all, and just really excited that we got such a great crowd. Really terrific to be able to launch this B2B marketing series with everyone here today. And this is the first in our NANN B2B marketing series. So this is going to be more of a high-level area and a high-level overview of some of the areas that we see B2Bs struggling with. And really at the end of each section, we'll be pausing for a minute and just asking you some questions to think about, and then to also give you some activities you might want to do as it relates to some of the things that we're thinking through. And we also want you all to know that we really would love to hear from you after this session. So we will be emailing you. Not only will you be getting the presentation, but we will also be emailing you to ask you some questions about some of the marketing challenges you're having and what you might want to learn more about, because over the next several weeks, we'll be having more of these sessions. So we hope you can join us also over the next few weeks. For Q&A today, if you have questions, please go ahead and type that in your, I don't know if you can see your Q&A comment box at the bottom of your Zoom screen, but you'll want to type in your questions there. And at the end of the webinar, we're going to save all our questions till the end of the webinar, and then we'll go ahead and answer them. And for anything that we can't get to, we will consolidate those, answer them, and send those in an email as well. So if we run out of time and we can't get to all the questions, don't worry, we will answer your questions. All right, so Creative Mischief. Creative Mischief is a branding and marketing agency with a simple belief: if we dream it, we can build it. So this is very aspirational for us. We've been in the business since 2008. We've been working with brands from small to large and everything in between, really great local nonprofits, MBEs such as yourself, and the MBDA Business Center, everything from to large multinational brands, and won several awards along the way. So it's really been quite an experience, and really a great opportunity for us to be able to work with you also.
So I founded Creative Mischief in 2001. We kind of reiterated and brought in partners in 2008. But originally we were a web design company. And over the years, I noticed that most of our clients were trying to solve marketing and branding issues by refreshing their website. Over the last 10 years, we've shifted focus to helping clients with branding and marketing challenges, and then how those can all kind of be tied into a web presence as well. So often helping to solve how to get more impact with your existing resources, people, time, and budget.
So we've been in business for a long time. Isham and I guess over, I don't know if I want to say 60 years, maybe not quite, combined experience. I primarily work to position brands in the marketplace, creating themes and taglines and content, and developing marketing strategy. And Isham, as he said, is president and chief strategist. He's pretty much wears it all, wears every hat, and takes care of pretty much every part of the agency. So that's a little bit about us. Okay, so, and now for our presentation. As an agency, we always start with brand. So we really like this quote from Mr. John here, who's quite a successful businessman. Most brands started with a strong base and kept a strong belief. And we believe that that is one of the most important things you can do for your agency. For your business, is to focus on your brand and make sure that it is translating to your clients. A little bit about brand development. Not everybody has their brand fully developed, and that's okay. There's lots of ways to be able to go about doing this. One of the things you want to first start asking yourself is, how will your brand distinguish itself, and how will you make it stick with your customers? Some of the things you want to consider are why you do what you do. What is your purpose? Got to know that. What value do you bring that your competitors don't? Who is your audience? Really knowing your audience and who you're building your brand for. Some of the ways to get to those answers are to build a brand positioning strategy. We found a really great site out there that we thought was really great for small businesses called fool.com. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's Motley Fool. And they have something called the Blueprint. And it is especially for small businesses. And it just gives you a lot of tips to walk through how to develop a brand, and also some good marketing tips as well. So for them, they start with step 1, identifying your target. Step 2 is educating yourself on your competitors. Step 3 is to do a SWOT analysis. Step 4 is leaning into your selling points. Do you know your unique selling proposition? Do you know exactly what it is, your value proposition for each of your audiences? And then creating that positioning statement or tagline for each of those audiences. And then finally, refining the identity and positioning. So they have a lot of information on that. And there is there's a link there for you all to be able to go to that and kind of work through it. We will also be having a session on deeper dive on branding. So that's something that we also recommend that you consider coming to as well. But this is just a great guide for building your positioning strategy.
And that guide is how we approach clients. So, and what we do. So this is an example of a client that we were working with. When we started working with Red Brick, they were 20 years in business and they were never profitable in that 20-year time. They kept taking new investment to be able to continue going forward, but they just were losing money. It was more of a hobby than a business. Their latest leadership team was looking to the competitors and thought what they needed was to be the most creative brand in the Southeast. So with their guidance, we built the stuff on the left. So we had Hop Atlanta and Hop Circle, everything, you know, IPA, their beers were all the hoppy flavored stuff. So we came up with funny names and worked with local illustrators and put together a creative brand for them. It didn't work, still wasn't profitable. So we're like, look, let's do the research. Let's figure out who your audience is. We found the largest buyer of craft beer was in the grocery store. Almost 60% of all beer sold was in the grocery store, and it was purchased by typically the wife, who had a long grocery list, and on there was one line item that said, I want an IPA from Red Brick. Well, if you're looking at the beer on the left and you're trying to figure out which one is the IPA, you can't. So, and you also have a hard time figuring out that it's Red Brick because, you know, the one on the middle with the little alien on it is pink. So we changed everything with the packaging. We got rid of the little funny names. We made the Red Brick very large and prominent on the can. It was really prominent on the 6-packs. When you went to the beer section, there was basically a big red brick wall that showed their beer. And it told you exactly what each flavor was. So with the research and with this shift in packaging, I don't like the packaging as much on the right. However, it was the first time they were profitable in 20 years. So it was effective. Branding is like brand consistency, like embodies how the brand and tone of the company throughout everything you do in every piece of marketing. So brands that retain consistent messaging and identity see a 33% increase in revenue. Take 6 to 8 marketing touches to generate a viable B2B sales lead. This is from Salesforce. So what that means is people need to see your brand 6 to 8 times out in the market. So that could be a social post on LinkedIn. That could be your proposal. That could be an ad in a trade publication. But they need to see several of those. And that consistency allows them to connect it all together and say, oh, I saw this ad. Now I see a social post. That's the same company. And it starts building credibility in their mind. Google has found that for B2C, that it's upwards of 17 impressions. So we got a little easier with a B2B, but not, it's still, consistency is the core thing. And if you look at the 2 examples on the left, even though the top one says Coca-Cola, when you glance at it, you know it's Pepsi. It's the red and blue and the ball, and the one below, even though it says Pepsi, you know it's Coca-Cola. That consistency, even when there are changes to it, reinforces that in your mind. So we just last summer completed an exercise for a group of mortgage lenders that were in 6 different states, all with different names. And their plan was to grow, and their plan still is to expand and attract the 300 best mortgage lenders across the country. High touch, like they're going against Rocket Mortgage, and all of the other big mortgage brands. And the way that they're trying to compete is to be the ones that give you that premier service. They hold your hand through the entire experience. You have someone to call. They keep the stress down. So anytime you have a question, day or night, you can call up your mortgage lender and they will be there. So they liked this idea of the 300 best because of the 300 Spartan warriors. They saw themselves as the Spartan warriors. So we created an emblem that tied that Spartan helmet to the M in mortgage and created this little mark here. We also use simple patterns, bold contrasting colors in that chiseled font, all to kind of hint at Sparta, but also have a very modern feel. We use a copper foil, things like that. And this allowed their company to have variety in the way that they could implement the brand, but that variety also created consistency. So all of this, even though this pattern is different than the pattern on Empowered People, it all has the same feel. There's a lot of the consistent elements used over and over again. And the other advantage to this is they had one marketing team with 3 people in it that were trying to create brands and maintain brands for those 6 different mortgage lenders. So every time they had to create a new business card, they had 6 different templates. Every time they had to put out an email, they had to put it out 6 times because there was different brands every time. It just created literally 6 times as much work. And if they were to grow that to 300, they would never be able to maintain. So that brand consistency also, we brought that into our proposals. For most of our clients, the proposal is the first experience with our brand. So our work comes from referral, and we're typically competing against 3 to 5 other agencies that were also referred. Our proposal helps set us apart. The way we showcase our brand through simple language, clearly defined processes, and a mix of copy and imagery help us stand out from the crowd. We often are not the cheapest, but we have a close rate of over 45%. So if you think of, we're always competing against 2 other firms, it should be, 45 is better than a third. So.
Okay, so we're just going to pause for a minute and ask a few questions. These are things you can answer on a sheet of paper or just bring them to mind, and then also talk a little bit about a couple recommended actions. So from a branding standpoint, a little check-in, can you state in 1 or 2 sentences what you do and what is unique about your business? Do you understand the value you provide to each of your audiences? Is that clear? Is that clear to you and everyone who works with you or for you? Have you documented how your brand, the logo, the colors, the fonts, imagery, tone, and voice should and should not be used for things like the website, for sales, collateral, for social media, and for print? These are things that you want to be able to answer affirmatively. And if you don't, going back through and, kind of doing these exercises is really important. A couple of recommended actions. So printing out all of your marketing and putting it up on the wall. Maybe it's your website, your social media, any print collateral you might have, and just, is it consistent? Does it feel like it's all part of the same company? What, if anything, is missing? Another thing you can do is ask your customers to give you a few adjectives to describe your brand. And if you find that it doesn't really reflect how you want to be known and what you think of as your brand and who you are, then you might want to consider how you might be able to change your image in the marketplace. So just looking at your marketing, seeing if it's consistent, also just getting opinions from people, and your customers, for sure, to give you those additives and let them tell you how they see your brand is a good way to do that. So just a few questions there to think about. Now we're going to move on. Okay, so I love this quote too. We get our results from where we place our attention. I think that's nothing new to most of us, but Janice Bryant Howard, and I never say her name right, so I have to make Howroyd. And if you don't know who she is, she's the first African-American woman founder to build and own a billion-dollar company. And I think this quote here is especially true when you apply it to things like marketing. So marketing is one of those places where you have to apply some attention or you will not grow. And so that's where we're going to be turning our attention to next. And I'm going to kick it back over to Isham to talk about B2B audiences and this wonderful pyramid and make sense of this.
So we just did a bunch of research for a law firm. And through that research, we came across this great pyramid. And basically, there's all these elements, ways that you could talk to your audiences. And what we found is most businesses are marketing the table stakes, like we do this. So for law firms, we do law, and they were very dry in how they do things. But the problem is that's not how people connect with a business. And so we use this pyramid as a way to talk about ways that they could start thinking differently about the way that they talk about themselves. So, so for them, we find that a lot of the companies we work with don't have a strong vision to talk, which is really the stuff at the very top, vision. If you don't have a vision, then what are some of the other things that you can talk about? So this whole part of the pyramid is all about ease of doing business with you, the value you provide, and then functional value is here at the bottom, a little better than table stakes, but still interesting way to start thinking differently about how you do things. So, for example, you can speak to your responsiveness, how you made a client more successful in their career. Like, we did this work and it led to this kind of result, allows people to say, oh, I would like to have that kind of result also. So that responsiveness or is under relationship, commitment is under relationship. Different ways to, like, using this pyramid, you can start thinking about different ways about talking about the same things that you've been doing. So
what's interesting here too, if you look at the top, the inspirational value at the very top of the pyramid is your purpose, providing hope, things like social responsibility. These seem like very touchy-feely type things, but people are looking to believe in your brand. So making sure that, again, going back to the brand part of it, making sure that you're speaking brand, what that is. It's not just, what you do, but why you do it.
Yeah, and we'll get to, there's a slide coming up that talks a little bit more about the importance, some other findings that we found. Yeah. Some other findings. So consider ways to move audiences through the pipeline. So a lot of times we'll work with someone who's like, oh, I'm out there, I'm on social media and I'm putting out all this content, and they're not thinking about what's next. So you use advertising, blogs, posts on social media, all of this to build brand awareness. But that brand awareness needs to lead somewhere. So the next step is, how do you build leads? So how do you find out who cares about what you're talking about? All of this is a waste of time if you don't get any leads to your business. So ways that you can get leads, as you see today, we're doing a webinar. This webinar, we're going to get all your email information, so we can market to you. But then there's other ways, like gated content like ebooks and guides, or in-person events where you can invite people even to an open house or to a talk that you're giving. All of this allows you to ways to build a contact list, and then you nurture that contact list. So once you have a contact list, how do you continue to communicate to them? Email newsletters, continually. If they came to an in-person event, what articles have you written in the past that might relate to that event that you could continually nurture them with until they become a client? The question that I like to ask is, what's next? For every communication you put out, what do you want the recipient to do next? Asking that simple question allows you to make sure that you have that handoff from that initial awareness that you're creating all the way to a new client. So the importance of an online experience, we often hear from a lot of our clients. Most requests through the website are a waste of time. And my initial reaction is that this is because people aren't advertising to the people that they want to come to their website. But the research we found also said that as more millennials move to management, they will increasingly rely on digital for connection and decision making. And COVID has definitely moved that up a lot faster too. In 2014, over 50% of B2B purchase decisions were made by millennials. That's now 8 years ago. So, and this is an audience that grew up with technology and mobile phones. Most B2B buyers are already 57% through the buying process before they ever reach out to you. So they've identified the companies they want to work with. They've identified whether or not you provide the specific service that they're looking for. And then they contact the 2 or 3 companies that they think can do the work. At that point, once they've done the connection, it's all about helping them sell your value to leadership and get that budget. And then COVID changed how we do business. 70% of B2B decision makers say they are open for making new, fully self-service or remote purchases in excess of $50,000. So without ever talking to anybody, they're willing to spend $50K. 27% of that group said they would spend over $500,000. And this is by McKinsey. So that's a huge, this is 5% of all business to business purchases. They're willing to make up to $500,000 or more than $500,000 without ever talking to us. So I kick it back to Karen at this point for some ways that we, some tactics for marketing.
So using email marketing and drip campaigns, we're just going to kind of get into more of the tactical marketing kind of things. So your most used channels, starting with email. We talk a lot about segmenting audiences based on interests and making sure that what you're providing to each of those audiences is relevant content. So that makes the most of your email and your effort to ensure that what you're writing, what you're providing to them is going to give them the value, one, to open the email, because that's got to happen. And then finally, to look at the email and say, oh, that's something of value to me. I'm going to click on this and I'm going to find out more. customizing those messages, but also if you can, there's a lot of great stuff out there, a lot of automation and trigger based type programs you can use based on the actions that your audience takes, which it makes a huge difference in terms of the effort that you have to put into answering every one of those emails. And or if somebody is clicking on a link in your website or going to one of your forms, setting up these drip campaigns to get them in the door, to get them to talk to you. These are the kind of things that you want to be able to do. And Isham, I'm going to kick it back to you. So talking kind of about one of the things, some of the work we did with United Way, through segmentation and personalization, but also a little bit more about those marketing platforms and how they work.
Yeah, so United Way, they were running a campaign, this shoebox campaign every year, and they were collecting shoeboxes full of toiletries for women in shelters and for Mother's Day. So when we came to them, they had just had their most successful year. They collected 5,000 shoeboxes. We said, let us use your email. Let us send out, I think we sent out maybe 8 emails total. And the first one we sent out to their 75,000 members and said, hey, we're launching this. Anybody that showed any interest, we moved them into a separate bucket. We segmented them out and said, this is the group that cares about shoebox. And we started sending more targeted messages on how you could get engaged with shoebox. So we ran the campaign. I think the whole thing ran for 4 weeks. At the end of 4 weeks, they started counting the shoeboxes. By the time they got to 25,000 shoeboxes, they stopped counting. Through a little bit of segmentation, understanding the audience and who cared about the program, and then ramping up the communication to that group, we were able to get a more than 5-time return on the previous year. So we've listed several different email marketing platforms here at the bottom. MailChimp, they're an Atlanta native. They're great if you're in e-commerce and you want something very simple to be able to shoot out communications, they're great. Campaign Monitor, the one above it, does a little bit better job of segmenting. So if you've got a B2B audience and you've got a lot of different products and you want to be able to target different parts of your audiences for different product information, Campaign Monitor might be better for you. Active Campaign, the one at the bottom, they have a CRM system included, so customer relationship management, that allows you to build a database of all of your customers. So a lot of people use Salesforce for this. Salesforce is very complex and very expensive. Active Campaign does all of that in a much less expensive way. And then they also have a way that they monitor your website so that you can, if someone goes to like a pricing page on your site and and they're already in your list, you can create an automation that says, oh, you went to pricing? Here's so-and-so from sales to talk to you about how we could help. So you could do very, very interesting automations based on behavior on the website.
And there are also automation apps out there also that do that for you. So one of the people on the chat wanted to mention that, which is true.
Yeah, Sendinblue is the one that I'm researching now. It seems very interesting. They also tie in SMS chat and Facebook ads. So I know MailChimp does some with Facebook ads, but Sendinblue kind of ties all of it through one system so that you can send emails and texts and Facebook ads based on behaviors that people are taking, which is great. So you can hit people. If you're thinking about 6 to 8 different touch points that you want someone to take with your brand, this is how you do it. So they come to your website, that's one, they get an email, that's two, they get a couple social posts, that's 3 and 4, continue. So
Well,
next, what?
Oh, you got it? Social media?
Yep.
Yeah. So for social media, we really try to push more of a conversation. So yes, social media is a great place to build brand and followers and advocates. So the brand does have to be there. And so a lot of posting, breaking down the types of posts that you're doing into different categories. So you might have 5 different categories of posts. And for each of those 5 categories, they kind of feel the same each time. So one might be, this is, everything about clients. Another might be news about the business. Another might be celebrations or something. So you want to kind of decide what are the big buckets that you want to get out there, and then how you speak within those big buckets, how your brand comes across within those big buckets of communication. But one of the things, again, that we really like to push is that social media is a conversation. So being able to engage your audience is one of the most important things you can do. One of the easiest thing you can do is to start a poll. And especially if you know a little bit about your audience, if you start a poll, put it out there, find out, and this is also a great way to kind of mine social media, not just with your audience, but like doing polls to try to get people to visit your site. You start out with a question that's relevant to them and that they're interested in. And then after you get the answer, you send them to your site. But another great thing about that is you can take the answers and then, this is information that you can now use to put out more content. So if you do a poll that's relevant to your business and you say, hey, I found out that, one of every 5 people likes to, likes to dry their hands with paper towels rather than towels, and maybe you have a whole series on that. But it's a great way to engage your audience and, get people interested in what you're doing, especially if it's something clever or interesting that people might note and just do a quick poll. Other things you can do is, making short videos. Get your audience, get your customers to do short videos, anything like that that reflects your product, your brand, your values, to create that lasting impression. So Isham, I don't know if you have more there, but another thing we say is, don't try to be on every platform at once unless you feel really, really confident about your, about your social media and your business. Start small. So start with 1 platform or 2 platforms, and really those platforms that your audience is on, and really try to do that well.
I mean, Buzzsumo is a subscription service that allows you to do research to find out what people are interested in now. So depending on what you're selling, you might be able to get an idea of the things that people care about so that you can start producing content that's relevant to them.
And last thing on that page too, and you can jump ahead, but don't forget to respond to messages. It's really important. Leaving questions unanswered, and it says a lot about your company if you don't answer clients who are trying to engage with you. I'm too busy for my clients, usually that's the case, but the truth is, you got to make your clients feel and your customers feel important. So make sure to respond to those messages.
Yeah, this is interesting. So we do a lot of work with local chambers of commerce. We have 2 clients right now, both of them in Georgia. One is probably 10 times larger than the other one. The smaller chamber, they respond and they ask questions, and they have a highly engaged social media audience. Whereas the larger one doesn't respond. They post more, but they get without any response and without anybody interacting with it, they don't get the reach. So Facebook looks at, and all of the social medias, they look at how people are interacting with it, with that post, to determine how many people should see that post. So less interaction means less people see it. So that responding, asking questions, all those things kind of work together to get you more of a reach. So Karen, you want to take this one, or do you want me to?
Yeah, just leveraging your network, the small businesses. Remember your network of friends, family, and supporters. Isham, I'm going to kick it back to you because you have a great story about what we did, but also one of our engineering clients. Yeah, I think that's a great. I mean, this is pretty self-explanatory, but there's a couple of examples that might motivate.
Yeah, so we landed this this client. They asset management within engineering, like Air Force, aerospace and defense. So very technical, very specific audience. We try to target them through LinkedIn, but across the United States, their audience was about 1,000 people were there, like total. So, and those people don't change jobs. So LinkedIn was not a good place for them. They didn't spend any time there. They would go from college to their job and never change jobs their entire career. So they had a LinkedIn account, maybe they set up in college, never check it. So we're getting no response. He really thought that was the way to go. And for 8 months, we were like, you've been in this space a long time. Let's send an email out to your network and ask if they can make any recommendations. Finally, we got him to do, after 8 months of nothing, no leads, he finally was like, okay, we'll try this out. And yeah, he landed one of his biggest clients. Like, he was in Honeywell and he landed Raytheon, which is a huge client for him. And all this because we sent a couple of emails saying, hey, if you know anybody in the space who needs needs help with A, B, or C, let them know about us. It was very simple. We also did the same thing. We were, and truthfully, I don't follow my own advice. We did this 6-7 years ago. We sent out one email to my list saying, we're looking for clients, and we're looking for clients that are like, we described what kind of clients we were looking for. And we got 3 or 4 different leads. And then from those leads, we got one client who ended up being 25% of our revenue for the next 2 years. So it was pretty awesome for what was really about a half a day's worth of work. It kept us busy for years. So that was pretty awesome.
Hey, content marketing. We don't have enough time to talk about content marketing today. I mean, as it relates to exactly what you need to do, it's a huge subject, and it takes a lot of time. But even if all you do is put together, a monthly plan in terms of finding out what it is that your audience needs, what their challenges are, how you can help them fix or work through or think through those challenges. Those are the types of things you need to be doing. Because basically, without doing this, you really don't have anything to share. And the idea is that you share information in order to get people to come back to you. So you want to be able to provide some type of value to your customer in the form of a podcast or an article, a video, or a webinar, or a blog. And this can be yourself. This can be an expert in your field, a guest, an opinion. It can be an interview with a customer. But basically, you want to be able to get the best mileage from that content by breaking it into little bits and pieces. So if you have a social media post, you tease that piece and say, we found, this and this and this. Come read the whole paper, the whole paper here. But if you do break them down into smaller pieces, you will get more mileage out of what you've spent putting together. So don't always think of it as these huge things that you have to do. Sometimes you can just do, a little bit at a time. It may be a journey that you're taking as a business, and you just tell people about it along the way and what it means to you. People like to be part of your journey, so sharing that with people is a good idea. But running all this with an editorial calendar, and then again, create content. You might want to do it in terms of quarterly chunks. So you might say every quarter I'm going to sit down for a couple days, or I'm going to hire a copywriter for a week and write a whole bunch of content, probably more than a week, but write a whole bunch of content that then I'm going to send out throughout the year. That's one way you can think about getting content out to your audience. And then really what you're trying to do is drive people back. Again, just bringing them in, to set up a time to talk to you, read the article, learn more about your business. So
And
that's the
if you-
type of thing you want to be doing with your content marketing.
If you think about what we've covered so far, how does someone find out about your company 6 to 8 times? And what do you want them to do next? So content marketing helps you do that.
Exactly.
So Google My Business. A lot of times we think about Google My Business being important for like a restaurant. So where's the local burger place near me, right? However, Google also uses location to determine where you rank within search results. So if like when we were doing this we do this a lot for law firms, an attorney near me, if you don't have your Google My Business set up right, you don't show up in those listings, or you show up on the second or third page, which is just as bad as not showing up at all. You won't go to those pages. And even more important, a lot of times Google will show a map on the search results with those listings underneath, and you won't be in the listings at all unless your Google My Business is fixed. It's pretty easy. It takes a little bit of time. Google does a really good job of explaining how to do it. So if you haven't claimed yours, make sure you do.
All right, so we're at the end of the marketing section, and a little check-in here. There are a lot of questions, so I'm just going to read them out loud. If you don't have time to think about them now, definitely we'll send this back out to you later so that you can kind of go through this on your own. But first question, do you know which social media platforms your audience uses most? What tools are you using for scheduling and responding to social media? Are you using any tools? Third question, is your audience growing? Are you getting people to interact with your posts? As it relates to email, have you segmented your email based on your audience's interest or involvement with your brand? Will your email marketing platform support trigger emails? Have you created automated responses for when someone completes a form or purchases a product or does some kind of behavior or activity? Have you asked your personal networks for help to gain exposure to your audience? And do you have a process for capturing customer feedback or testimonials? And then a recommended action. Write down 3 to 4 themes related to your business that would be of interest to your audience. It's a great place to start. Second action, start creating and sharing content that relates to each of those themes and track what sparks the conversations or creates leads and grows your business.
So we have gotten a question so far from one question so far from Randy Perry. I'm a contract manufacturer, machine shop. How do I reach my customer base? I'm of the thinking that I have to build a personal relationship with buyers. What I'm doing is not working. And then he goes on to, so how do I use social media to grow my business? There's a lot there, a lot of different ways that I might approach this challenge. So the first one is understand your audience. So you're a machine shop for what kind of customers? Where can those customers be found? LinkedIn has a real good way of being able to search based on the job. So if you're looking for a specific type of role within a company who would purchase from your machine shop, you can target them both by the role in a company as well as geography. So if there is a geographic range that you work, that could be a good approach for social media. The other thing I'm finding is a lot of manufacturers, I spend a lot of time on YouTube, and there's a lot of small manufacturers who show kind of behind the scenes and provide a view of what's going on in their shop and the kinds of work they're doing and how you go about it. And what it's done is it's raised their status and reach outside of the audience they typically have. And they end up getting a lot of work that way. They start getting a lot of orders. So if you're online and you're looking for how do I machine this product, and you're thinking about trying to do it yourself, those videos could be a real great way of saying, hey, we do all this stuff. We do it for lots of clients. We do have all this great machinery to be able to do, to tackle a lot of complex problems. And then you show how you go about it. Those orders may start coming in.
And there are also questions that are in the chat. So I just wanted to tell everybody, if you do have a question, be sure to put it in the Q&A. But in the meantime, I will ask them. One of them was, does Google My Business apply for online based stores?
So not so much. It depends. If your reach is local, if you're an online store with a local reach, then I would say yes. I have a buddy who is he does appraisals for homes, and he is a Google, like he came up through the agency world, knows a lot about search and how to work all that. And as he moves into new markets, he sets up a location that he can get a Google My Business account on, so that he can start marketing there, because it does help with his rankings as he's trying to compete with other businesses. So I'd say it depends on what you're selling and how you're going about selling, whether or not Google My Business is going to be that gives you the best bang for your buck.
Another question. I am thinking of partnering with an event. How do I leverage their followers and turn them into my followers and customers?
Yeah, the first question would be, are they going to let you share their marketing list? That would be the easiest. The next one would be how, through that partnership, will they, if they're not willing to give you a list, will they send out a sponsored communication from you that drives to a web page on your site where people can learn more about your business and how to start following you?
Also, a great way to do that is to be able to engage that audience. So if you have them, if it's a live event or some event where you can ask questions, again, like a poll or some kind of survey that they would be interested in getting the answers to. So, if it's a poll or survey and you have access to that entire audience, you can send out the answers to the poll or survey, and it may be a benefit to that audience. And then what you do is say, if you're interested in learning more about the results of the poll, click here. And then they have to go to some place where you have some sort of entry point where they have to put their information in to get the answers to the poll. So there is that. You can do that with the partner that you're working with. You could say, hey, I have this poll. I'd love to send it out to the audience. Can I do that? And sometimes if it's information you're going to be providing, they allow you to do that. If it's just marketing that you're going to be doing to the participants of the event, sometimes they won't let you do that. But a lot of times, if you can provide value to the people at the event, they'll allow you to either send an email to them, or they will send an email to them on your behalf. So the next question is, I create a solution to prevent counterfeit products. I am in business. How do I let people know that I have a solution for this product?
So again, this starts with the audience. So what kind of products are you being able to prevent people from counterfeiting? Who are the people within those companies producing those products that would be your buyer? And then how do you communicate your solution to them as a viable option? So how do you save them money? How do you protect their brand? All those kinds of things. So again, it really is understanding who your buyer is. If you've got buyers already, where do they sit within a company? What's the name of their role? Use that to see if there's other people with similar roles in similar types of companies, and start reaching out to them either directly through LinkedIn or getting introductions through LinkedIn. So kind of that taking that referral approach. It seems that you probably have a small enough market that with a couple people, you could probably start targeting the specific people that you want as your clients, and find them through LinkedIn or other ways, like find the company directories and the people with the right roles, and start reaching out to them directly.
All right, so it looks like that's it for our presentation today. I hope you enjoyed it, and we really look forward to all of you joining us again in the weeks to come for more B2B marketing, and then some other NANN webinars coming up that I think Jennifer is going to tell you a little bit about. But so great to meet all of you, and we're just very grateful to be here with you and to be able to speak to you today.
Isham and Karen, on behalf of the Georgia MBDA Business Center, we thank you so much for this very informative presentation today. You are truly experts at what you do every day, and we're excited to have you on our team. And we're also excited that we're able to present this information to businesses who would otherwise not be able to have access to it. So again, thank you so much for this presentation today.
Thank you, Jennifer.
We look forward to the next, I'm sorry.
Thanks to the Georgia MBDA Business Center for making this possible.
For sure, thank you. So everyone, thank you for joining us today. I'd like to quickly share a slide that has our upcoming events. We have a business series, a business model canvas with one of our team members, Brandy Nagel. We have a finance center with Anita Davis that kicks off tomorrow. We're super happy to have Creative Mischief join us again in the near future with their B2B marketing series and B2C marketing series. And we'd like to give a special thanks to our partners, Albany Community Together, Georgia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Georgia Micro Enterprise Network, the Greater South Fulton Chamber of Commerce, and US PAC. And lastly, we'd like to thank our center sponsors, Comcast, EPCO, and Train Technologies. On behalf of the Georgia MBDA Business Center team, thank you, and we look forward to seeing you in the near future. Have a great day.